Hello everyone, it is Monkazunky, and I know I didn't make a video the last couple days. I was actually having a nice little getaway sort of thing. I went up to my grandparents' house and just kind of hung out with them for a while. It was pretty fun, but as you can see right now I'm training prayer. I do have 99 prayer bot because this is one of the skills that's going to be affected a lot in price if the bot nuke comes, so I decided to get it out of the way. Got my cape and my yak, both new additions, and just looking at like how I'm doing this now, because I remember getting 95 prayer, I didn't have a Slayer cape, and I also didn't have a yak, so sometimes it's amazing. I mean, you look back on your Runescape account and you're like, how far have I come? That's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. I haven't really reminisced much about the past in my videos, but I can distinctly remember when I first started playing this game back in 2006, one of the best ways to make money that I knew about. Let me just make this clear. This is one of the best ways that I knew about. Not that one of the best ways there were is I would go down in Varrock sewers and kill skeletons for money. The reason why is because they dropped talismans, especially fire talismans. And back in those days there was no GE, so if you wanted to train runecrafting you had to go buy a talisman, and since they weren't that common, not many people really sold them. So it was quite easy to sell these talismans in World 1 around the Varrock West Bank. So what I would do is I would go kill skeletons, and I'd get a fair amount of talismans per hour, usually about 1 or 2 fire talismans per hour, and I'd sell them for like 5 to 10k a piece. I know that's not what they're worth, but people would buy those because for whatever reason people on free-to-play wanted to train runecrafting. Fire runes were the best XP, and no one really sold talismans, so they'd have to buy them for a lot of money. And that's how I made money as a noob. I distinctly remember just grinding skeletons for hours and hours to get my first set of rune armor. I also remember getting my second set of rune armor, which I gave away to a friend, because back in those days, people were very, very generous. Like, if anyone just walked up to you and said, hey, how's it going? How's the training going? I'm pretty sure it would just completely shock you in this game, because that doesn't really happen anymore. But I had one guy that I used to train with back in the day at Varrock Guards, because that was Beast XP on free-to-play. Oh, free-to-play, so many fond memories. But yeah, I gave him a full set of rune armor, and that's just not really something you see anymore. I guess there is kind of a trust trading among friends and all that sort of thing, but just like for someone you don't know very well to give you something. Back in those days, full rune was what, like 250k on free-to-play, something like that, which was a fair chunk of change back in 07 Runescape. So yeah, just generosity. That is one thing I really, really miss about this game. I know a lot of people blame jagex for ruining the whole because believe it or not, RuneScape used to have a really, really good player base. The official word for it is kind of blanking on me right now. I can't think of it for whatever reason. You guys know what I'm talking about, like how the players interact with each other and all that. Yeah, RuneScape used to be really, really good that way. There's a lot more maturity, even though I think the average age, like the player age a few years ago, was a bit younger. You know, I think there are more older players now, although there's plenty of young players still around. Not that there's anything wrong with that if you're a younger player. I don't have any problems with that. I was obviously a bit younger back in those days. I would definitely count myself among the ranks of the younger players, but even with that, there was a lot more maturity back then than there was today. I'm not quite sure what the reason for that is, because in real life, even though there's lots of immaturity among older people, usually maturity comes with age, but in RuneScape it seems like it's the opposite. So I'm not quite sure why that is. That's just something that's always confused me. But anyways, one thing I want to talk about, one of the coolest things that ever happened to me in RuneScape, is when Clan Wars came out. That is the only thing I did, no joke, for months on end when I was free to play. 'Cause I was free to play for quite some time. I didn't play enough to really justify the price of members, because surprisingly $5 a month was a little out of my price range, because my parents didn't pay for it, and I obviously wasn't employed when I was a little kid. So that was a little difficult. Anyway, a slight progress update on the prayer. 520k till 96, and I do have a lot of dragon bones left to go. I have a little over 15,000 dragon bones to go till 99. That is going to take a long time. That's not going to be fun. Well, it might be a little bit fun, because prayer is more or less AFK. I mean, I know the whole banking process is really annoying, but besides that, I don't mind doing prayer at all. Gives some nice time to relax, listen to music, you know, do other stuff, watch YouTube videos. That's what I normally do when AFKing. It's a lot of fun. Anyway, what I was talking about earlier was free-to-play Clan Wars. I don't know if any of you viewers personally remember back when Clan Wars first came out, free-to-play. Oh my God, it was amazing. All the level, for the most part, I think the great majority of the players who did it were in between levels 50 and 90. 90 was kind of around the high range. If there was someone that was level 100, free-to-play Clan Wars when it first came out, he was a beast. There wasn't very many. You didn't see very many level 100s. That was a little more uncommon. Anyway, yeah, it was so much fun. I just remember doing hours upon hours of end. And what you do is you just join someone's friends chat, because back then there was no clan chat. There was only a friends chat. So if you wanted to join a clan per se, it wasn't really a clan. People just kind of joined groups so they could team up. And usually on each of the little worlds there'd be 2 or 3 mega clans who had I don't know, 20 or 30 members in it, and these would just have these big wars. And then if you joined one of the bigger clans, you just you fight these other clans that only had a couple people in them actually in the clan wars area, and you just demolish them, and that wasn't all that fun. And there wasn't any statistics or rewards really. There weren't any standings going for, there weren't any rewards. It was just all out fun. It was really fun at the end, because I do think you could bring food in there. You got to remember, back when Clan Wars first came out, you couldn't set all the options like no food or drink or different arenas. There was just one arena, and you'd have to go deep in the wilderness. But of course, back then there was no PKING; it was just revenants. But yeah, you couldn't set different options. It was the same every time. Everyone just went on opposite sides of the wall in this one map, and you just fought each other to the death. I do think food was allowed, but I don't quite remember. It was a long time ago, after all. And I just remember at the very end there would be like 2 level 80s who were obviously huge pros with like full rune heraldic or full rune gold trimmed or 4th Saradomin, which was just monstrously expensive back then. And they were just, you know, being complete beasts fighting it out to the very end. And in one fight I was around level, not on this account, this was on another account that I had, but I was around level 82 or so, and I thought it was really cool because I was one of the higher levels in this really big clan of people that we had, and I made it to the very end. It was just me and another guy fighting it out, and it was just one of the most epic feelings I ever had. I don't think I had ever felt that good after I was like the last person standing in a Clan Wars in Runescape. I honestly think that, above all else, was my most epic Runescape memory ever. And I loved that. And I know a lot of video makers will often ask in their videos, like, what was your greatest RuneScape memory ever? If you want to post that down in the comments, feel free to. I mean, I read all the comments I get. I'm not going to specifically ask for that because, you know, it's a very overdone thing. A lot of video makers do those sort of videos. So I'm not really after that. I was just more going to reminisce a little, kind of for myself, you know, reliving these memories a bit in my mind. It's pretty fun, as well as just... I've had some other people ask, like, when did you join? What was RuneScape like when you joined? Because a lot of people didn't play back in 2006, 2007. And I realize a lot of people did, but you got to remember, back in 2006, 2007, for a large, not all that time, but about half the time when I played back then, I was free to play. So it was a fairly different experience. And I was also a bit of a lower level. I was a very, very rich lower level. Back then, on free to play, I had green cash, although I don't think it was green back then. There was no green cash stack. You know, when you get 10 mil or above, it turns green. It was still yellow, because it didn't turn white or green or yellow with the different denominations of your cash stack. There wasn't any color coding. And I just forgot my Marintil, so that was really stupid. But, yeah, I had what would be green cash now, and that was just, like, unheard of on free-to-play, which... In my defense, I did have one friend, actually the guy who I gave to the full rune. He ended up being a real pro mercher, and he earned a fair amount of money, and he shared some of that with me. So a lot of it was given to me, yes, and I really do wish I could get back on that first account I had, because I do believe there's a Santa hat on there, which is worth a lot more these days than it was back then. But that's not going to happen. Anyway, I do also remember one of my other fondest memories. I didn't go for the full Saradomin at first. I went full Zamorak because I think it looked the coolest. In all honesty, they didn't look that great. I haven't seen the full Saradomin or Zamorak armors lately. I've seen a bit of the full Guthics because my brother has an account and he's free to play, and he has full Guthics because, I don't know, he's a noob. But anyway, yeah. I think they look a lot better now. They didn't look that great, but it was just really prestigious because you didn't see a whole lot of that. You got to remember, back in those days, free-to-play wasn't botscape. Free-to-play actually had a very strong community of players, a lot of very active ones, and it was, for the most part, players around between levels 50 and 80, I would say. It was very uncommon to see level 100s. I remember the first time I saw level 126. It was I had actually played for a few months. The first time I ever saw level 126 on free to play, and that was just insane. You didn't see that hardly ever back in those days. I imagine you probably saw a lot more of them on members, because who's honestly going to be level 126 and playing on free to play? I mean, I guess if you became that way on members and your subscription ran out and you couldn't afford to pay it and you still wanted to play, or something like along the lines of that. One of the most frustrating things had to be bank space, though, because nowadays if you go to free to play, you're like, oh, it's so slow. But you got to remember, I hadn't really had much taste of the members, because when I was members, I was a very low level. I kind of got up to the higher levels when I was a member, and then played at the higher levels when I was free to play. So I didn't really get too much experience of, you know, how much slower free to play was than members. So it never really got a chance to bother me. But I just remember having a blast back in those days in the community. Yes, community was the word I was searching for earlier, if anyone remembers back to the earlier parts of this video. But it was so good. And it might amaze someone to say this, but I honestly think RuneScape had one of the best gaming communities that there was back then in those days. And sadly, sadly those days are long past. But I was planning on making a vlog tomorrow or later tonight or sometime this week. Who knows when I'll get around to it. Kind of on my thoughts of the current community, what could be done to save this game. Obviously, jagex is shooting themselves in the foot a bit with all these terrible updates, like the bank space update. Let's be honest, everyone has wanted that for so long, so long. We've begged and pleaded jagex for years to update the bank space, and when they finally do, it becomes something you have to pay for, which I think is just a bit ridiculous. Which I'm obviously not going to be paying for the bank space, since I don't have a Slayer tab to deal with, at least not yet, hint hint. I do have plenty of bank space open, so it doesn't really bother me too much, but when I do have a full Slayer tab, then it really does become a bit of a squeeze to fit everything in the bank, and I do have to juggle some stuff around, which is pretty annoying. Anyway, thanks for watching, everyone. I should be making a video kind of on my thoughts and opinions in the community. I know a lot of them have been made. I think it's kind of something important that I want to do for myself as well, some of my personal thoughts. They aren't quite so black and white as a lot of other video makers tend to be. So yeah, thanks for watching. It's good to be back. Just took a few short days break, but it also was good to get out of the living situation that I'm in and just have a short break from that for a while. So yeah, I'm going to be training prayer for a while, and farewell.